Hey everybody, ronarray here, and as you probably already know, melee skills got heavily buffed. So as a melee enjoyer, I decided to do a rundown showcasing the skills that receive biggest buffs, together with best ascendancies and particular uniques that could benefit some of the builds. Hope it will be useful to you as a quick guide and will help you to pick the skills that you will want to run in 3.25. Check out timestamps for particular skills in the end, and I will rank the skills based on my opinion and how strong they will be. Also let me know in the comments which skill is your favorite now and why it's Cyclone. A few things to keep in mind. First, many melee skills were changed, losing flat damage bonus but received much better damage effectiveness. And second, since melee totems are completely gone, all melee builds lost some damage because of it, and it's now necessary to compensate for that loss. Many skills received buffs, but I want to focus on the most promising ones that were buffed very heavily, or the ones that have been played before. The most buffed skill overall is Pestilent Strike, which is almost tripled in damage effectiveness. However, it was not really popular before due to various reasons, and even right now there could be more promising skills. However, with such a big buff, I'm sure there are going to be some Pathfinder builds for it. On the other hand, Double Strike received only 0.03 smaller buff, which can lead to a number of decent builds around it. The skill has been played before, mostly by champions and slayers, and based around charge stacking and paradoxica. However, there's also an option of A-star stacking for skill as well, with Juggernaut for example. Additional option would be Double Strike of Impaling, built around Impale stacks. And builds such as Champion, which has been unpopular before but it's definitely doable right now, so I expect some builds like that to appear. Another skill that received much love is Lacerate of Haemorrhage. It lost flat damage bonus, but 226% of additional effectiveness can easily compensate for it. It is also worth noting that it has been an alright early game pick, even before the patch, and with all buffs to bleed which now can be aggravated, the skill should be close to the meta builds. Such builds as Lacerate Gladiator or even Lacerate Ascendant with Alessa's Delight and Azarper Penance are definitely going to shine. Perforate, Regular, Lacerate and Frenzy of Onslaught received buffs as well, but will mostly be outshined by better picks, leading us to another big winner of the whole patch, Viper Strike of the Mamba, that received a crazy 238% of additional effectiveness increased, which should really bump the damage forward. There's also the skill that was almost unaffected by the totem's removal. It has never cared a lot about the attack speed bonuses from Protector and now will be even stronger with such build as Viper Strike of the Mamba Pathfinder or Trickster. There's even a possibility to go Slayer to combine it with Alessa's Delight Gain and Charge Stack. Those builds also can benefit heavily from the Covenant early to get easier and faster 6 links and 7 links a little after. Another awesome option is Sweep. The skill could be used only with two-handed weapons, but can reach an almost screen-wide AoE and pretty comfortable gameplay. Receiving 383% of damage effectiveness buff, it's going to feel pretty good. Many various ascendancies can be played with it as well, such as Slayer, Juggernaut, Berserker, and even a Champion. In my opinion, Berserker version looks really strong together with all rate changes and should work just perfectly for such skill. Next step is another niche skill that has some fans already, Glacial Hammer and Glacial Hammer of Shattering. This build can have a great set of defenses and also freeze everything around without a lot of issues, and after the buff it will have one of the highest damage effectiveness among all melee skills, 622%, which together with Heat Shiver and Throat Breath will make it more popular, combining with Juggernaut, Slayer, and possibly even new ascendancy that replace the Raider, Warden, since it has a lot of cool elemental buffs, additional shocks and freezing bonuses. Infernal Blow looks decent, but not the juicy as other hit skills. Blade Flurry is a little clunky to play in my opinion, and Boneshatter of Carnage is the least popular Boneshatter, which leads us to the next skill, which is Cleave. Cleave has also received a pretty decent buff, which will help tremendously in the early game. I did a very detailed Berserker Cleave League starter build in previous league. Check out the description or pin comment if you're interested in it, I'm going to leave the link here. And league started it myself in Necropolis, so it seems that with such buff, it's going to be much stronger this time around. The most popular ascendancies would be just Berserker and Slayer, with build focused around the Savior Sword or Paradoxica and the Rigvald Axe. Reave is probably the most popular skill for strength stacking Berserkers and Juggernauts with original sin, which was already very strong, so it's kinda surprising to see it's more than doubled in effectiveness. It will probably add even more popularity to expensive strength stackers based on Reave. Flicker Strike, which been a pretty popular skill for many leagues too, also got buffed, receiving 192% of additional effectiveness, while keeping flat damage bonus. Since it's always been hard to use totems with Flicker, especially while mapping, the skill benefited hugely from the buff it received. As the Ascendancy option, Slayer version with Lacerate of Cadence is very popular and going to be pretty strong. So is Trickster with Ephemeral Age, and finally a Warden could be an interesting pick too, instead of Raider with Paradoxica and Shackle. Another below skill that has been a fan favorite and is finally buffed is Cyclone. It is very smooth and a fun skill that can be played as pure Fizz or Fizz Shockwave versions with Abyssus and War Staff, or a Chaos based Aether stacker as well. Most popular ascendancies to get the most out of it will be Slayer and Berserker. Both of them will work just perfectly in my opinion, so just pick your favorite. Molten Strike received a pretty decent buff as well, for both normal version and Molten Strike of Zenith multiplied effectiveness for both approximately in 1.8 times. That skill was pretty popular already, with different kind of builds such as Rakiata's Dance Champion for example, or Pillar of the Cage God Juggernaut, and can bring even more fun combos such as Poison Molten Strike Pathfinder with Nimis for example. Ice Crush received a very significant buff too, raising the effectiveness up to 611%, making it one of the skills with highest effectiveness in the whole lineup. It can surely bring more popularity to the skill, since it's very convenient and fun. So both Hollow Palm Warden and Mace Berserker version should receive a bump in both popularity and effectiveness. Frostblades has been a fan favorite for League Start for some time and now received even more love. The skill received additional 184% of damage effectiveness, and will now be even more popular. It also stacks pretty good with new ascendancy, the Warden, which is elemental based as well and can provide both Scourge and Shocks up to the whole build itself. Another option would be Trickster or even Berserker to wrap up the damage even higher. Don't forget to bring your Hitshiver, the Taming and Yoke of Suffering to the Blasting Party. Due to all changes in auras such as Determination and Grace, which been kinda nerfed, armor stackers are going to build differently. On the good side, Smite is buffed as well and receiving 215% of additional effectiveness without losing innate damage, so it will stay a strong option for all armor stacking builds such as Champions and Ascendants, with Dorianis and Dreamfeathers. Splitting Steel been a very popular skill in Necropolis, so the buff for it is not that heavy. It also lost the innate damage bonus, yet even 120% of effectiveness can help to rise in already pretty strong build even further, especially if it's paired with such strong ascendancy as Trickster for lightning damage version, or Ephemeral Age, or for example Champion with Paradoxica and Physical Approach. Lightning Strike is also buffed, but it received one of the smallest changes for only 74% of additional effectiveness. It also lost flat damage increase, and keeping absence of totems in mind, overall damage should be pretty close to the level before the changes. It is still definitely playable, and will be kind of popular, but it's hardly buffed. If you still want to try that, Armor Stacking Champion or Ascendant should be your best bet. As an alternative you can try Poison version, because it's available too, with Pathfinder Ascendancy in mind. Boneshatter has been an absolute fan favorite meta skill for a very long time, because it can give you a pretty decent survivability and a pretty decent damage too on top of that. So now it's even buffed. 88% of additional damage effectiveness without losing flat damage sounds absolutely awesome for a pretty popular skill already. Prepare your Juggernauts or Slayers and go shatter some bones if it's your kind of jam. And the last skill in the list is Rage Vortex. It wasn't popular, but some people played it, so it can be considered kind of a niche skill. With all the rage changes, it is harder to predict how good it will be. However, the buff seems kind of not that big, considering it received only 8% of effectiveness. Main ascendancy for that skill always will be a Berserk, so don't hesitate to go that way if Raid Vortex is your jam. So as a final thing, I want to do a list with the skills which in my opinion will be popular and benefited the most from patch, not on just numbers. So right now the favorites to be meta, or become close to it in my opinion are those. First one is Lacerate. The buff is huge, and aggravated bleed bonus together with Gladiator is going to push it pretty far and make it very popular. Second is Flicker Strike, the skill been popular for ages, and is buffed enough to be a mainstream one now. Next one is Frost Blades, great clear, solid single target, barely melee gameplay, plus interesting interactions with different setups like Nimis, so it will be strong and popular in my opinion. Cleave currently looks like a great idea too. A lot of range, great interactions with rage, and a decent single target damage as well. Molten Strike is pretty much in a good position too. Biggest issue of Molten is the distance, but the damage is great and Nimis can help to rise it even higher, so I think skill will be kind of popular. Splitting Steel. Great clear again, and the skill that feels like a ranged one, and not a proper melee. Great middle ground for people who want to keep some distance but still play a melee spell. Reave will stay as good to go stacking skill, but biggest issue of strength stackers is prices. However, I'm sure that Reave will stay here as one of the strongest options and a lot of people are going to play that again. So that's been my list based on melee skills that been buffed in 3.25. I think any of them will definitely make a pretty good build. Some of them will be a little more popular and some of them will be a little less popular. I definitely can recommend to play almost any of those. I hope you will have fun with melee in that league, and thank you very much for watching. See you next time.